Good morning, everyone. Anybody watching the NBA? Ouch. Hey, I have a couple of friends who really like basketball. I don't like basketball. I don't watch it. But I think it's interesting. They just canceled the season. And it's pending, so they're going to reassess. But at this point in time, like, there was one forward who was touching all the microphones, apparently, who had coronavirus. That's terrible. But the NBA season is postponed, canceled, essentially, until further notice. So maybe they'll get games back before the end of the year, but not likely, and not likely under a schedule that's reasonable. But I am a Canadian politics show, so let's stick with Canadian politics first, and then we'll get into coronavirus, because there is a lot to talk about with regards to coronavirus. President Trump had an address last night, etc., but we'll get into it first. Budget Day will be on March 30th. Do you think that... I mean, I don't know that this is going to happen. I don't know that Morneau is going to come out with a budget on March 30th. I mean, maybe. I'll cover it if he does. But I think other things are going to be more important. I think this coronavirus thing, as I've said, and I've said this to a couple of people, you don't quarantine 700 million people for nothing. You don't quarantine and shut down Italy for nothing. You don't stop the world's manufacturing engine. That is not an easy thing to restart. You don't do those things for nothing. You don't. It's not reasonable. And to think that all of these things are happening as a hoax, maybe, but all of these things are going to have real life impacts for people. Even if it is a hoax, if it's not if the virus stopped being virulent, it stopped being contagious, we got a 100% cure for it right now today, the impact of everything that's happened already is massive. Massive. Like, we have slid into another reality now. Like, this is like post 9/11 world, except 9/11 is ongoing. We're watching it explode in China. We're watching it explode in Italy. It looks like Germany and the rest of Europe is about 10 days behind Italy, 9 now. But that's a long time to wait when you're standing on the beach and people are yelling, "There's a hurricane coming!" And it looks beautiful. Sure, there's a couple of waves, but it's beautiful out, right? Nothing's wrong. The mall's open. Everybody's fine. Why are you worried? Because there's a hurricane coming. And this one you can't stop. And I mean, if you're not stocked up. So, Budget Day on March 30th. The other little bit of Canadian news. So yesterday, they banned conversion therapy. And if you've been watching or paying attention to Laura Lynn TT, Tyler Thompson, and what's happening in BC with regards to the transitioning teen and court there, it looks like the Attorney General is going to be getting involved. I haven't talked about this story because it's not directly political, but if this man goes to jail for refusing to stop calling his offspring their biological sex, which is being threatened, that's a big deal. So, and Canada's not moving to ban any of that. They're not banning transition. Transition is to be fully embraced. In fact, if you disagree with it and you have custody of your child and you have rights over your child, like custody, the state will overrule you and say, if you don't listen to your child, your minor child who is being encouraged by their mother and presumably other people to take these hormones and effectively change fundamentally who they are, if you don't agree to that, you will be put in jail. So, I mean, what would you do? What could you do, right? When the entire use of the government's power is to rob you of your ability to parent your child. I mean, wow, right? So the government's focused on banning conversion therapy, and here's the Globe and Mail reporting one day ago, Ottawa set to declare plastics as a toxic substance. Go into a grocery store. What is your food wrapped in? What is this government thinking? Water comes in plastic water bottle, toxic. Muffins comes in plastic muffin tins, toxic. Stupid. Absolutely stupid and tone deaf. In the context of the wider world currently, as I said yesterday, they're focusing on the wrong thing. And I didn't say how sick and disturbing it is that the government of Canada, the courts in BC are all standing by and watching this. It is sick, it is disturbing, and it should not stand. Period. And I mean, I know I don't talk about this much, but it is awful. It is awful. Awful. And our government is, what are they thinking? What are they thinking? What is the opposition thinking? Thinking that this is the right thing to focus on. Crazy. Here is We still have planes landing from infected areas. Here's the last one arriving from Rome. Quote, the last Air Canada flight coming in from Rome has landed. Passengers tell us that no one at Trudeau Airport, that's I think in Montreal, asked them questions. They simply gave them a paper explaining the virus. Most passengers told us they'll go into self-isolation just in case. So that brings us to the end of the hard Canadian politics news and into coronavirus. So no travel restrictions. People can still land from China, I believe, in Canada, as far as I know. People are still landing from Italy, and there's a massive outbreak in Italy right now. It is an emergency. Italy is being overwhelmed. Italy, if you didn't know, was up until recently ranked number 2 in the world by the WHO for healthcare. What's Canada ranked? I don't know. It's not number 2, and it's not number 1. I don't know what makes Canada special. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we are, for some reason. Here is a February 9th article. It says, coronavirus. Trudeau says Canada will offer more help to China if needed. It says Trudeau said Canada has already responded to China's request for medical equipment, including face masks and other protective gear, as the infection rate and death toll from the virus continue to climb. And I couldn't highlight this because this is just an image, but it's very interesting to see. When you fast forward to March 9th, today is the 12th. It says, Health Minister Patty Haydu said some provinces face shortages of the supplies they need to respond to the rising number of COVID-19 cases, and the federal government's taking stock of the national inventory of ventilators, protective gear, and hospital beds. So it's interesting, right? We've got lots we can send to you, China, and we won't mention anything about, any of the skirmishes over the past couple of years. Don't worry about that. Here's some protective equipment, except that now we don't have enough to cover our country's needs. That's a problem, right? That's what leadership is for. That's what you're supposed to do in leadership. Take care of your country. When you have extra, take care of everyone else. Apparently, Justin Trudeau's edict is to take care of everybody else. And if you're homeless in Canada, stop being racist. You racist. The WHO is saying this is not a drill. This was from March 6th. Again, we're March 12th. He says, the article says, the World Health Organization, WHO, warned on Thursday, March 5th, that too many countries were not taking the steps needed to fight the spread of the deadly new coronavirus. WHO Chief Tedros, I'm not going to try the rest of his name, told reporters in Geneva that he was concerned that a long list of countries were not showing the level of political commitment needed to match the level of threat that we all face. This is not a drill, he said. And I'll just show you what Patty Haydu said here. This is on March 9th. So this is after Mr. Tedros said, this is not a drill. She said, I want to reassure Canadians that their health and safety is our top priority. Our highly trained public health officials are working hard to prevent and limit the spread of COVID-19. They're in contact with all orders of government to provide Canadians with regular updates and advice, he added, of which no advice is provided there. And whenever I've looked for advice, the advice is wash your hands. Wash your hands. This is not a drill. And yet we're still allowing planes to land from infected areas. Why? Why? What possible good could it do Canada to leave our borders open? Here's what Donald Trump did. This is this morning at 6:12 a.m. Trump's travel ban poses questions for Canadian airports border. U.S. President Donald Trump is slamming America's door on most foreign nationals who were recently in Europe, a drastic step in response to an accelerating global pandemic that, should it proceed, could pose a serious threat to commerce and travel between Canada and its largest trading partner. Trump, in a rare televised Oval Office address, sounded nervous and ill at ease Wednesday as he sought to assure Americans that his White House was taking decisive steps to slow the march of the novel coronavirus. Now, I wanted to read that because he didn't sound nervous and he didn't sound ill at ease at all. He sounded pretty clear about what he was going to do. He laid it out, and it was like an 11-minute speech. This is the problem. This is what we're going to do. Apparently, he misspoke about the goods, and they go into this a little. Like he said that it was goods and people that would be limited from Europe, but it's just people. The goods can flow. So and whatever. But I don't think that he sounded nervous or ill at ease. And I think it's interesting that the newspaper, again, this is CP24, is editorializing like that, right? Like they're saying, oh, he sounded nervous and ill at ease. Why? Like he didn't. And why would you say it? Even if he sounded confident and self-assured, like either way, I don't think it's appropriate for the news to report like that. That's very leading, right? Like it makes you believe, it casts it in a certain light. And that's problematic. It's problematic. Back to the article. To keep the new cases from entering our shores, we will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States for the next 30 days, Trump declared into the camera, his fingers latticed before him on the resolute desk. I wonder if that's the same desk from National Treasure. It's Trump. It totally would be. He'd probably get Nick Cage in there to sign it too. Okay. There will be exemptions for Americans who have undergone appropriate screenings, and those prohibitions will not only applied to tremendous amount of trade and cargo, but various other things as we get approval. Anything coming from Europe to the United States is what we are discussing. These restrictions will also not apply to the United Kingdom. The president later tweeted, "The restriction stops people, not goods." It wasn't immediately clear how much advance notice the Prime Minister's office received of the president's plans, or precisely what steps Canada would be taking to deal with the potential fallout. "We won't comment on the other countries' approaches," said a spokesman Cameron Ahmed. "We will continue to base our decisions in Canada on science and the best advice from our public health agency." Here's Mr. Turdos saying, "This is not a drill." Like, what more? Okay. Best science, yes, right. I scroll down. The president has been under fire in recent weeks for what critics have called a tepid and disorganized response to the crisis from the White House that didn't appear to be taking the threat seriously. But with the outbreak escalating, stock markets in free fall, and the risk to the U.S. economy growing by the day, Trump, gearing up for re-election later this year, appears to be taking notice. In addition to the travel ban, he also announced a $50 billion, that's billion with a B, low interest plan to improve liquidity in capital markets for small business, and to defer tax bills for people and businesses affected by the outbreak. And he's pushing Congress to greenlight his proposal to cut payroll taxes to help keep the country's economic gears turning. And he was apparently he wanted to cut it to zero. That's a big package. That's a $50 billion package. You want to hear what Canada did? Here it is. I'm just so disappointed, right? Like, I mean, just awful. First, too little, too late. Way too little, too late. Second, it doesn't restrict travel. Third, shave the beard. Okay, Canada's pulling out all the stops to fight COVID-19 on $1 billion plan. Yes, you read that right. $1 billion. $1 billion. $1 billion. Okay, here's how it breaks down. I'm not going to read the article. Here's how it breaks down. Support for provinces and territories, $500 million. So $500 million divided by the number of provinces. Let's do that. So here's $500 million. Oh, that's 500,000. Hold on a second. Okay, here we go. 500 million, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, divided by 13. If you allocated the funds as equally between provinces, which, I mean, that's probably not how you would do it, because a lot more population lives in Ontario, say, than does Northwest Territories. But if you were to allocate that way, it would be 38 million per province, roughly. Yeah, okay. I don't know if that's enough. How many nurses can you hire for that? And okay, investing $275 million in research. When are they going to develop that vaccine for AIDS or SARS or MERS or the cold or the flu? Right. I don't know about that. Immediate and additional public health response, including funding for Indigenous Services Canada, $150 million. Sustained communications and public education. Don't be racist, you racist. It's just a virus. Hashtag viruses or viruses too. Personal protective equipment, $50 million. Where are you going to buy that, sir? Where are you going to buy that? Just $50 million? I've got a guy in China. No? I mean, seriously, come on. International assistance. We are sending $50 million where? To do what? Italy? Here you go. What are they going to do with it? Like, I mean, here's the problem. Their healthcare system is overwhelmed. There aren't enough nurses, doctors, or ventilators. And if we send nurses, doctors, or ventilators, when this hits, that would be an irresponsible use of our resources right now. Because, like I said at the beginning of the show, there's a hurricane coming. And it's coming. And you need to prepare. And it's the government's job to prepare. $1 billion package with $50 million going directly out of the country, but not just $50 million, $52 million. Here's $2 more million in support to the WHO. Here you go, guys. We're doing enough. Can you stop saying that there are countries that aren't doing enough? This is not a drill. Yeah, right? Repatriation of Canadians, $7 million. A work-sharing program, $12 million. International assistance, $50, I already said that. And employment insurance and sickness benefits, $5 million. $5 million for Canada. Good luck, guys. We'll totally pay your bills. Just get better quick so you can go back to work, okay? Nothing wrong here. We're still landing people from Rome. I hope they don't get other people sick. Quebec is imposing travel restrictions on public employees as more COVID-19 cases confirmed. Here's the person-to-person transfer, and both Justin Trudeau and Seamus O'Regan, and Seamus is showing signs, were at this conference. So Justin Trudeau has been exposed to this multiple times. PM monitoring health after attending conference where a participant tested positive for COVID-19. Now, the first time that he was exposed, he shook hands with an Iranian foreign minister. So, and not to say that I don't know if the foreign minister has COVID-19, but the foreign minister was in the same room as other highly placed Iranian leaders and met Trudeau, and those people were infected. So, I mean, the amount of times Justin Trudeau has been exposed to this is a lot. I mean, I don't know if he just isn't taking this seriously because he believes the advisors, or and who maybe are believing their own rhetoric. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know. But I feel still that our response is too little too late and not nearly enough for what's coming. And resolved 5, we're up to 42 cases in Ontario now, and I don't know what's going to happen. I hope that it stays right there. I hope if 42 is the peak and we're on the other side now. Yay, we'll ride this on the way down. No school closures, nothing. I hope that's true. I hope it is. Really. One other thing I wanted to address. Yesterday I went off about the male and female, and I didn't realize the Wet'suwet'en were traditionally a female-led band. So I apologize for not realizing that. There's a lot to know, and there's things that I just don't know. So there you go. I thank you for the comments for letting me know about that. I still want to talk about the reason that I got frustrated about that is just because of how much the media, et cetera, is pushing division through any means necessary. Division through gender, division through race, division through anything. And I think that regardless of the race, what they did was wrong, right? Like, I don't think that it's right, male or female, but the fact that the Wet'suwet'en are traditionally female-led, and this woman lost her hereditary title to a man, that says a lot. And it's interesting that nobody, including myself, has commented on that, right? Like, it has really talked about that. That's not catching fire. People aren't like, hey, that man, blah, blah, blah. So isn't that interesting? It's interesting to note, like, wow, right? On one side, if somebody looks the wrong way at somebody, it's sexist and misogynistic. On another side, if it suits the narrative, you can be a male chief in a traditionally female-led tribe, in a female-led First Nation group. Sorry, I don't know if it's tribe or clan, or I don't want to misspeak, but I just did. But you can do that, and nobody will say anything. Everybody just says, "Oh yeah, that's fine." Even if the women there are saying, "Hey, like, what the heck?" Weird. Welcome to 2020, everyone. 20-minute video. I wanted this to be faster. Thank you for watching, everybody. Check out CanadaPoly.com. Check out CanadaReport.co, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. And wash your hands. Wash your hands. Stay safe.